Hello everybody, it's Carl here from Comic Culture and the Game Store in Lincoln, and today I'm going to give you an introduction to Festung Europa from Compass Games, designed by Mike Ranella. This is a card-driven game, or CDG, in the style of POG, Paths of Glory, Hannibal, other games of that type. It's unusual somewhat in that instead of having a point-to-point map, it's got a hex map. And the situation covered is the Allied invasion of Western Europe to the end of the war from 1943. So it starts with the invasion of Italy, if you want, and goes on right till 1945. If you've ever been interested in playing a CDG, then Festung Europa is a great introduction. It's only got 20 pages of rules, and that includes the front cover, the index, optionals, the scenarios, terms. It's a really quick, simple and easy game to get into, I think. Like I say, it's a little unusual because it uses hexes, but it's a very low counter density. The stacking is limited to 3 units per hex, and really you'll be lucky, apart from in certain choke points, to be getting that close. The campaign game starts in summer 1943. The Allies have a massive units in North Africa, and they're about to invade Sicily. They also have quite a few units in the UK reserve box ready to invade Northern Europe. The Germans, as expected, are spread around the European coast and Italy. Now in this game, the East Front is abstracted, so the Germans will be required occasionally to send units over there, which will obviously limit what they can do on the West. However, that's up to the Allies what they want to play to encourage the Germans to send units. And if the Germans don't send units, they will lose victory points. So it's quite an important strategy to help the West get clear and also to gain victory points. Other things the Allies can do is strategic bombing. This reduces German infrastructure, and if you can get it down low enough, you'll severely limit the number of cards that the Germans get to play, get to hold in their hand and get to play. So it's definitely worth considering. However, having looked at it, it's quite a hard thing to do. Every card in the game has an event on it. A lot of these events are one-offs, and you'll put a chit on the board on the game turn track to show when that event's been played. Here are just a few of them. So you can see you've got events for Patton has been reinstated after the Germans have tried to get him sacked. The various different invasions that the Allies can do, V2 rockets, spear, production miracle, etc. Here are some of the military units. These are the Allies, so you've got the Brits in light brown, the Americans in green, and the French in blue. And when I say Brits, I also include other Commonwealth countries in that. You get tactical air and strategic air. For the Germans, very similar, grey units for them. The green units are the Italians, and it's quite similar to the American green, unfortunately, but it doesn't really affect play. And one other thing that they get, that the Allies don't get, is fortress units. These are defensive, they can't move, they can't attack, or they have 0 attack, but they do help reduce the Allied incursion. One of the first things I look at when I'm trying to learn a new game is the sequence of play. I always find a well laid out sequence of play helps me pick up the game very quickly. This has got a nice simple sequence of play, as you could expect from a low to medium complexity game. First, you've got an air power phase where you can move your air markers around, and the Allies can also play tactical and strategic air markers. Then you draw your cards. Now in 1943 both sides will have 8 cards, then it goes up to 9, then 10 by 1945. Then you go to the action phase, and this is the heart of the game. The action phase is where you play cards. The axes start first, and on each turn both sides will get the opportunity to play 6 cards. If you don't have a card you wish to play, you can effectively pass and pretend that you've played a 1-ops card. So you don't miss out completely, but obviously you're generally going to want to play the cards that you've got in your hand because they're going to be better than just having 1 point. Finally, you get an attrition phase, so you make sure see if units are behind enemy lines, and then you get a turn end phase where you see if there's an automatic victory. Now that's a nice simple sequence of play, the heart of which is of course is the action phase. But I think anybody who's you know, even fairly new to wargames would be able to pick this one up. Here's a little bit more of an in-depth look at one of the Allied cards. As you can see, this is a 2-point event card called Orders from Berlin. So you can play it as the event, in which case you don't get the ops, or you can play it for 2 points of ops. Now those 2 points allow you to activate 2 hexes, gain 2 replacement points, you get 2 points of strategic movement, or if you don't want to use the ops, you get the event instead. This event says that the Allied player selects an Axis occupied hex adjacent to an Allied occupied hex, and then they are forced to attack. Now if the Germans decide they don't want to attack because it's suicidal, then they lose 1 VP. At the top of the map you have the general records track, where you track what the current VPs are, what the current German infrastructure is, Allied hand size, how many RPs have been generated, etc. You've got your turn record track, which is expected moves along every turn, and the seasons are color coded, which is quite a cool touch. Then you get the action round, so every time you play a card you move your action round marker on so you know where you are. Like I said, the Axis goes first. And then finally you've got an Allied air mission track, which shows you which air missions, the strategic and tactical air, have been sent on for that turn. The Germans don't get air in this. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to Festung Europa and found it useful. I think it's a nice, low to medium complexity World War II game, and I love card-driven games. Paths of Glory, which is the First World War, effectively, version of this, is still probably my favourite wargame of all time. If you're looking for a European wargame and you want something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, I think this one is very much a contender. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you'd like watching these, I'm going to try and do a few more of these as well as my What's in the Box videos. Please feel free to comment, like and subscribe. I'll speak to you again. This is Carl from Comic Culture and the Game Store in Lincoln, England, saying thanks for watching. Goodbye.